Penn State football puts another big piece of the puzzle together for the class of 2027. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. Sean Fitz is with me. And one of my biggest concerns, I think one of all of our biggest concerns for Penn State so far, whether it's on the team or in this particular class of 2027, has been defensive end. And that question today is answered. And Fitz, tell me a little bit more about who the answer is for Matt Campbell and Danton Lynn here in the class of 2027.
Well, first off, thank you for anyone that's joining us live, unannounced. We were going to get this video done this morning, and it did not work. But Penn State on the board, on the edge, with Elijah Guertin from Bishop Hendricken High School in Warwick. Felt this was a look at the rankings here, and we're going to go with the giant caveat that ESPN has not rated him yet. And if you followed any of my ranting and raving about rankings throughout this process so far, you understand that a Rivals 89, a 24/7 90 does not average to 86.71 as the Rivals industry ranking would tell you, but that is going to dissuade people from thinking this is a good pickup, but it really is. This is a top of the board guy for Penn State. They've been after him for a while, brought him in the spring, offered him in the spring, saw, hey, this guy is 6'5", 250, fits the mold of what we're looking for from a defensive end perspective, and really had turned it up since then. So this is the big one for Penn State. They're really happy about it.
Yeah, he's a guy that has been super under the radar for a lot of fans and for a lot of his recruitment. I'm assuming also if it's just kind of Rhode Island is not a destination for high four-star talent and maybe a little bit under-scouted by everyone in general. I mean, obviously we have him in 89, a 90 overall for 247, but generally is he a guy that you think just because of the location where he's from maybe doesn't get a lot of the same attention a guy who would be working at a different school system that we've seen, around the Philadelphia area or the D.C. area where some of Penn State's recruiting hotbeds are? He might get a little more attention in one of those areas as opposed to where he is at his high school.
So yes and no. Yes, in the sense that he probably, I think people are going to look at his ranking and not really pay attention to it much. He also didn't get out and visit a ton of schools, but Florida, Michigan, Tennessee, he had 30 offers. So he wasn't exactly under recruited.
Gotcha.
I think it's more of a out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. And you see this with guys, especially in New England. It's not just with Rhode Island. Once in a while you get a guy to pop up from coastal Massachusetts. Connecticut has been a good one, and he's not in the typical New England ecosystem of prep schools, which I think is what we've gotten used to over the last couple of years. Like I said, they've done a phenomenal job of exposing their kids and getting their kids out there, and it's just a different ecosystem than a lot of stuff that we're used to in the rest of the Northeast, if you will. But no, there's been success there. Kwity Paye was actually from Hendricken. He went to Michigan. Remember that a couple of years ago. He was drafted, plays in the NFL, and kind of a similar type player. I mean, Guertin is 6'5", 250. Paye, I think, was 6'4", 6'3".
So Fitz, a little bit laggy there. Got you back here.
Sorry.
So one more question about that. You mentioned 30 offers. Can you take us through the recruiting journey for Guertin and Penn State? Top contenders, storyline. You mentioned he comes in the spring as one of, and immediately becomes a priority for them. How did this all come together where Penn State became the top team?
Yeah, I think you take a look at the body type that Danton Lynn has gone after. I think that's kind of been the I don't want to say misnomer, but Christian Smith's taken a lot of flack in terms of what they've recruited at defensive end and what they haven't recruited. Abraham Cissé being right down the street and them likely losing him to Notre Dame hurts, definitely. But I think Penn State fans and a lot of fans in general want to see the pass rusher. They want to see the twitchy guy off the end. And I think that Penn State probably should go after that a little bit more personally. But you've got Carter Blattner. Now you've got Guertin. So he came onto the radar kind of, I want to say out of nowhere. Early April came onto campus and picked up an offer right away. There was a couple guys that were in that week that picked up offers right away. And Penn State really gravitated to him. And I think they wanted to get him on campus as soon as possible. Didn't happen during the spring. They wanted to get him in the class as soon as possible. Didn't happen in the spring, but eventually came back around. Florida and Penn State were the two big ones. Tennessee official visit was scheduled for next weekend. That's not going to happen. So, it was a really good win for Penn State. And like I said, I think that if you're going to look at that industry ranking and you're going to say something about it, and I've already said a few things about it, but that's a good player right there. And Penn State's amped to have him. And I think they bumped up their compensation level for a guy of this stature because they believe that he's one of the best players on their board.
Yeah, I have some things to say from what I saw from him on film, and I think there's two things that we're going to talk about on the other half of this when we look at the highlight film. You saw it there, but I'm going to break it down here for some people, for everybody here in a second. We're going to do that, though, in just 1 minute. First, we have to hear from AJ Freedom Financial. Penn State fans know that confidence comes with having the right game plan. And when retirement is getting closer, many people have the same questions. Will my money last? Am I prepared for market volatility? Do I have a real plan for retirement and income taxes? At AJ Freedom Financial, we help pre-retirees and retirees build personalized retirement plans designed around their goals, timelines, and comfort with risk. From retirement incomes and tax-aware planning to legacy and investment strategies, we focus on helping clients move forward with greater clarity and confidence. If you'd like a second opinion on your current financial plan, or want to build a retirement strategy you can feel better about, we invite you to schedule a no-obligation meeting in Plymouth Meeting or one of our locations near you. Visit AJ Freedom Financial at www.ajffi.com or call 866-383-6899 today. That's AJ Freedom Financial at ajffi.com. AJ Freedom Financial, helping Nittany Lions fans plan for what's next.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Guertin Securities, LLC. Arden Hills, Minnesota, 866-991-1539. Member FINRA, SIPC. Guertin Securities, LLC, and SEC registered investment advisor, offers investment advisory services under the DBA of Guertin Wealth Management. Guertin Securities, LLC, and its advisors do not render tax, legal, or accounting services. Insurance products and services offered through AJ Freedom Financial. AJ Freedom Financial and Freedom Financial Insurance, LLC are not affiliated with Guertin Securities, LLC.
So we're going to get into the video here right now, but before we do that, please like the video and subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Also, got to remind everybody, coming up, once we're done with this video, we're going to have a full film breakdown over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. We've got our commitment breakdowns of Elijah Guertin already up. You can subscribe to BlueWhiteIllustrated.com for 50% off for the Ultimate Fan Bundle. So make sure you check that out. Here is his T. Frank's film room for Elijah Guertin. So I wanted to go through some of Elijah Guertin's highlights just to show you some of the things that make me so excited about this guy. 6'5", 250. And this is not necessarily indicative of what he does, but it shows you what he's going to be doing at the next level. So first off, rip move to the outside doesn't work. So what does he do? He comes back inside. He has the feel and the leverage to press the tackle outside, then spin back inside. So he shows a pass rushing plan to get a sack. That's what he's going to need to do more of at the next level. There's not a whole lot of those on his particular highlight tape. Now, this one here I really like because watch you see what he's going to be able to do at the next level, which is be a dominant run defender at defensive end. So you see him press into the tackle, he's playing, and then he's going to shed inside into the B gap and get this tackle for loss. He is a dominant run defender from multiple positions. Here, game is on the line, 4th down. They're going to try and force overtime. He's going to rush around the outside and get a clean win for a quarterback hit and then an interception. They go on to lose this game, but I love that rip move inside that he's going to counter. The second interaction with the running back does not stop him from getting to the quarterback and making a play on the ball. So that's what he shows you early on in his highlight tape. It's not necessarily everything that he does, but it is something that he can do at his size. So the productivity and the projection to the next level as a pass rusher is massive upside from what he did previously, where he is more of a base defensive end. So he's showing you a lot of his highlights of where he's rushing from the outside. That's not necessarily what he does on a regular basis. He is a base D end in this particular defense. And I want to show you this particular play right here because he's going to do some of this at Penn State with his size and his ability to play double teams. Watch him get into this double team. I believe it's with the center and the guard. He's going to split this and then get a tackle. So he He splits the double team, sheds it, and then is able to make a tackle. So he's going to be doing that with tight ends and running backs, but that is something that he can do, tight ends and tackles at the next level, but it is something that he can do and do really, really well at the next level. So he's a complete defensive end. He's everything they want in the system. Again, this is more of what he does. There's just a lot of these plays where he's playing base 5, maybe he's a 4-eye playing inside and making plays where he's rushing over guards. This is what Danton Lynn did with Laiatu Latu, is put him in a bunch of different positions and let him rush the passer. At the next level, this is the projection, is at the next level, he's going to be put in position where he gets one-on-ones with inferior players, and then he goes and makes the play because he's got the versatility to play the run from inside, to play the pass from outside. He needs to develop more of those pass rushing tools, but the raw potential and the run defense, some of the harder things like stacking a tackle, pushing him into the backfield, being a sound run defender and also an elite strength defender, where he's bigger now heading into his senior season, this is only going to get better. So Elijah Guertin, to me, his traits, his physical potential is that of closer to an Abraham Cissé, who Penn State missed on this level at this particular cycle, or a Luke Waffle. I'm not saying he's as good as those players, but I'm saying his physical potential and what he can be at the next level is in that bucket of player, and Penn State got him this late in the cycle. That's an amazing win. Fitz, I think I said this on the Thursday show, but to me, you put him in this bucket of Jameer Dean and David Tarawale, where the Penn State staff has done an excellent job of finding these guys who are 3 stars or aren't getting, and I know you mentioned he's got 30 offers, but being able to close on guys that aren't the consensus 5 stars, find the players that are on the board that have those tools, though, and then bring them into the program. To me, like, this is a huge win. This is on the level of a Jameer Dean as far as a recruitment that they then won and able to fend off some of the other players in the SEC or in other places that have money and are willing to go after a guy like this. Just curious your thoughts of how all of these things fit in with Guertin in this class.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the team rankings, well, I guess our team commitment page, and he's 4th from the bottom in terms of Penn State commitments. He's probably a top 5 kid in the class so far in terms of talent, sure, in terms of like what they're going after and what they're looking at. So I think that's kind of, it's misleading. And, if you're online, like you and so coming back around, T. Frank, it's more to me the NFLization of what they're trying to do on defense. Yeah. And getting bigger at defensive end has been a priority for them, and it's been a lot to wrap your head around because there's not a ton of those guys out there. Carter Blattner's committed, Elijah Guertin's committed, so you don't have the splash and the sack guys, the quick twitch guys, and I think that's going to take some getting used to. Again, I said it earlier in the show, I'd like to see them hedge that way a little bit more because you need those guys as game breakers. But you look across the NFL and they're big guys that can move, and they eventually do get those sacks. So I think that's what Penn State's kind of going for here, is getting bigger 3-down defensive ends and, going from there. So they've got some guys on the roster that can rush the passer, more specialized players. But if you can get your defensive ends bigger and play every down, like they're trying to do with a guy like Max Granville right now, that makes a big difference, and it really helps your defense when you got top level talent. So I love this pickup. It's one of my favorite in the class so far. And like I said, they really prioritize.
Yeah, I'll just jump in here quick, Fitz. I agree with that. And here's the interesting thing about defensive end, that I think there has been a trend, not, as you mentioned, the NFLization of this, but when you look at NFL defensive ends, the reason they want to go to that size is because when you have undersized defensive ends in college, you're going to get wins against guys that are just not going to play at the league at that level, right? And so you're going to have kind of your fastball is kind of an easy out, or a cheat code, right? If you're a guy like Guertin, you have to win like a football player. You're going to have to use your hands, your technique, your size, your leverage. It's all going to be right. But when you do that, then you become a dominant defensive end. Then you become one of those guys that is unblockable and is a real problem for the offense to scheme around. you get your Abdul Carters, you get your Micah Parsons. Those guys are outliers for those undersized guys. In a lot of ways, there's an easier time for bigger guys once they fill out and once they begin to play the position with the right technique and not just winning because they're athletic. And that's why I'm so excited about Guertin. I see a lot of really good positional skills, things that are going to translate pretty quickly to Penn State, and he plays really hard. Just all of those things to me point that this is a guy that has the potential to be a franchise pass rusher. And I know I've kind of restated all those things, so I'll stop now. I'll stop gushing about this one. I really, really like Guertin. Last thing here, we are now recording this live, 12:40 on June 14th. So take that for what it is at the time it is right now. Look forward for us of what's going on with Penn State football and this class of 2027 as we're really getting down here to the wired feels.
Yeah, actually just put up a notebook on Blue White Illustrated, so definitely get over and check that out in terms of what to watch for the next couple of days, weeks. Things are winding down right now, especially when you're talking about the 2027 class. Penn State obviously has a bunch of those commitments in so far, and there's going to be movement. There's going to be ins and there's going to be outs from that class. But coming off of an official visit weekend, Oscar Webersink was in, the Swedish offensive tackle, Louis Roja from California, Dylan McGee from Texas, and Jonathan Gillette, who's already committed to Penn State. So a smaller weekend for official visits. And then next weekend, they're actually going to transition and mostly be about 20. Coming in next weekend.
All right, so we'll keep up to date on all those things at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. Once again, like the video, subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Stay tuned. I believe we're going to do some re-engineering of the schedule next week because I'm on vacation from Wednesday onward. So we're going to work on things behind the scenes. You might be getting more recruiting information earlier than you think. For Sean Fitz, I'm Thomas Frank Carr. We'll be back next week on Tuesday for the BWI Live Show. And if anything else breaks, we'll be back to talk about it. We'll see you then.